Hi, I'm Spencer Krause. I've been building robots for over 20 years. In that time, I've seen a lot of interesting things, and I've heard a lot of interesting stories. Collaborative with Spencer Krause is a place where my colleagues and I can relax, crack a drink, and talk about some of the crazier things we've seen at work and some of the experiences we've had that have gotten us to where we are today. Subscribe today to join the collaboration. Welcome to the Collaborative Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer Krause. Our guest today is Fraser Kitchell. Fraser is the CEO of KEF Robotics, a company that does really awesome stuff with drones. Fraser, welcome to the pod.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming on, buddy. It's good to have you. I know we've tried to do this a few times and always been derailed, but I'm just happy to be here with you today, my friend.
It's great to be here. It's a beautiful studio. It's the first podcast I've done in a while, Spencer. Maybe the first ever.
Have you done one before? Or?
I've done some public TV before, but
that's like basically the same thing.
Basically the same, but not with these nice microphones and the headphones and whatnot. So
yeah, no, we really got a good setup here in Rockwell Park. Sponsor on the podcast. Grateful to have their sponsorship, and happy for you to be here now that I've made myself a shill.
We said we were going to do that, though. So
yeah, that's fair enough. So happy to have you on. So tell me a little bit about what KEF is doing. I know you guys do drone payloads and a lot of advanced vision stuff, but what does that actually mean?
Yes. Okay, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to leverage cameras on aircraft to fly autonomously, and that word autonomous is huge, and it's been claimed by lots of folks, but what we like to say is we're focused on the navigation part of it. So if you think about how a robot moves through the world, you think about guidance, navigation, control. And navigation to us is, and kind of in academic circles, where the robot is in the world and where things are around it, where things are in the world around it. So we are excellent at telling a drone where it is in the world using a very basic sensor, which is a camera and an IMU and a processor. So I like to think that, we're almost like writing algorithms that help a small bird, like a drone, the robotic analog to a bird, understand where it is in the world. So that means if you know where you are and you know where you want to get to, you can solve a lot of problems. You can do a lot of basic stuff.
That makes sense. So for a layperson, it's kind of like how you look at your GPS on your phone and you're like, here's where I'm at.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, our technology, I say, 50 years ago, you didn't have GPS, and there was no such thing as, a smartphone back then either with a powerful processor and whatnot. So our technology is the same as GPS in that we're helping somebody understand where they are in the world. We just do it not with a satellite network, but with the brain on board the aircraft.
Now, I think I have some ideas why you would want to do that, but for people listening, why would you want to do that?
Yeah, okay. So, navigation, fundamental need for a human, for a bird, for a drone. So, getting from point A to point B is what we all do every day.
No, I get that, but why not do it with GPS, I guess?
So GPS is unreliable in a lot of situations, and particularly, KEF is interested in the defense market, where on the battlefields of, the modern battlefields, GPS is jammed.
Every single time?
You can just say every single time right now, yep. Unless that was a dirty joke, I'm not sure.
No, it seems like that's a big requirement with the military, so it's just GPS denied environments.
Oh, it's fun. We should delve into that word of requirement actually, because that is a key business challenge for KEF. But yeah, so it is a reality that GPS is not available when you need it on the battlefield, or not reliable, to use another R word. So that's what we do is we provide an opportunity to know where you are when you otherwise don't have it. And it turns out our product is still not perfect at all. We want to keep working on this challenge for many, many years, but we're better than the alternative, which is having no idea where you are.
Yeah, 100%. Right? And if GPS is jammed or, as you say, unreliable, and Which it is. I mean, like without RTK correction, how are you going to get that on a battlefield? Like what, you've got like a 2-block radius as to...
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to have that on the battlefield, right? So the way you navigate is off of old school maps. It's satellite imagery, or it's drawn maps, or it's whatever. And if you can teach an aircraft to understand where it is in the world based on those data sources, then you have a huge advantage. And not to... We can go here, defense is what has built our company so far, but in the future, we are absolutely certain that the commercial uses for our capabilities are bigger than the defense uses. Just like the commercial uses for GPS are much bigger than the defense uses for GPS.
Even though the military was the reason why it exists in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, they're in that way, they're also analogs in that the military paid for GPS so we could all have it. And the military is paying for an improvement in vision-based navigation so that we can all have it someday.
Nice. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool. Well, how'd you end up here? Like, what's your path look like? What's your background? Like, when did you build your first robot?
Oh, my God. I've never built a robot.
Nice.
Yeah. So I ended up at KEF. So KEF is a company name. A lot of people call us KEF. We're fine with that. But KEF
We get SCA.
Yeah, exactly. We got the same problem. But KEF, Kerry, Eric, Fraser. So we're the 3 co-founders, and we ran a research and development company at a local space startup. And then we started playing around with drones to approximate how a spacecraft would land on another planet or moon. And then we realized that the capabilities we were developing were just critically important to terrestrial markets, and space. You'll hear that space moves slowly, which means that you could wait your entire life to launch your first space mission.
Right. And like it seems to me, kind of from the outside looking in, like space is awesome and really, really cool. And I think any self-respecting engineer wants to work on sending things into orbit. But
yeah,
like the market is very limited at this point in history. I mean, to your point, right? And so, if you build like a lunar lander, like you might sell 2 of those like in the whole lifetime of your company, or like,
yeah.
I mean, I guess the exceptions to that are like, like, I don't know, like Starlink, or like whatever the Blue Origin equivalent of Starlink is. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Yeah, I mean, the exceptions almost prove the rule that like the few companies that make money in space are all in LEO, low Earth orbit. And even that, until the last 5 years was prohibitively cost expensive to reach. So,
is it just the reusable rockets that have made it make sense?
Yeah, and even then, I mean, I think I personally, this is now outside of my area of expertise, but like SpaceX is able to charge a lot, not because it costs them a lot, but because they're so much cheaper than competition, even if they don't charge, So the point is, if you have a capability that's useful in space but necessary on Earth, like what are you waiting around for? And that's what Kerry, Eric, and I all said is like, we're fairly smart dudes and highly motivated. Let's like deploy this in a terrestrial market. So we left our old company and we basically set out to be the best navigation provider for drones in the world.
That's awesome. How long ago did you start KEF?
Coming up on 7 years, maybe. So we started December 2018.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Congrats on making it 7 years.
Yeah, making it is the right word to say. I mean, for sure, we've been luckier than most companies, but also, as I was telling you earlier tonight, like the challenges are every day, every week.
You don't last that long by not providing value to the world and like doing good stuff.
Yeah, I think we do. We definitely provide value to our customers. That is clear, and actually getting clearer by the day, which is helpful for us as we really do figure out what our niche is, and we increasingly like can define why somebody would need to hire us or buy our stuff versus why they would do it themselves, which is, fundamentally what a business is trying to do.
100%. So, I mean, you've talked a lot more about business than engineering, and I was kind of trying to get you to say this, but like you don't have an engineering background.
I don't. Yeah.
You're a businessman, which I respect. Like I started in engineering, and then I learned about business because I wanted to be in business. You started with business, and then you learned about robotics because it was a way to get into a market that made sense for you, it sounds like.
Yeah, well, just be clear, I didn't start in business. Like, I don't have an MBA either,
Okay.
right? So I'm actually a know nothing. Is I kind of proudly wear that label. I'll say I'm a B student, and but what I've always loved to do is I've always loved to talk to engineers and help them refine their ideas into like something that provides value. Because go ahead.
I was gonna say you're one of the smartest people I know. Like,
well, that's very kind of you. But yeah. I think maybe my superpower hopefully is in translating from an engineer's perspective into a business perspective a bit, where ultimately what I'm trying to do is just like not waste anybody's time and try to give everybody a ton of value and make money for folks eventually. And I think that like kind of just like ultimate, like just driving towards those key ideas over time has made me a little bit able to move some projects forward that otherwise wouldn't have been funded or would have gone off the rails or whatnot. So that's where I can help KEF or company.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how'd you get into it? Like, you don't have a business background, you don't have an engineering background. Like,
yeah, I went back to grad school at CMU to learn about energy science, and then I walked by a poster that said Carnegie Mellon's going to the moon, and I was like, oh my God, I got to attend that course. So I went to audit it for a day, and within 10 minutes, I was like, this is what I'm doing for my career.
Nice.
And I was I would almost say my background, I really love adventure. I really love being outdoors. I like, technical challenges, like figuring out how things work. And robotics has this awesome advantage over any other field in that you get to work inside, but also outside. And now with KEF around the world, and that is like, it feels like an adventure every day. So my goal really was to have fun in life, and KEF has now become a huge modality through which I achieve like an adventurous, fun life.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I can definitely empathize. So you're an entrepreneur is like effectively at your core, like not to like put a label, but.
Well, it's funny. I would actually say I'm like my brother's an entrepreneur. He's like the true entrepreneur, and he is also a CEO of a company. He started his own business and it's been doing great for a long time. But I think I'm more like I'm just very impatient, and I don't want to waste anybody's time. And so that's maybe what I am. Is like I'm just an impatient person who doesn't want to waste any effort, doesn't want to waste anybody's time, and wants to do real stuff. Like, do real stuff is an important part of that too.
Do real stuff.
Yeah.
Did you know that Collaborative with Spencer Krause now has a merch store? Please go to cwskmerch.com for the latest in CWSK styles. You can get a hoodie, like the one I'm wearing, t-shirts, hell, we even have whiskey glasses. Everything in the store has custom art that our team worked really, really hard on. So go ahead and show your support for them, me, and the rest of the CWSK team by going to cwskmerch.com today. Better yet, support yourself and use discount code podcast10, all one word, all uppercase, for 10% off your entire order. Thanks for your support and enjoy the rest of the show. With Spencer Krause is sponsored by SKA Robotics. If you're in the market for elite field robotics expertise, please consider hiring SKA Robotics. They sponsor this podcast and solve some of the toughest engineering problems in the world. SKA Robotics can be found at skarobotics.com. How do you see yourself breaking into the private sector? I mean, like you mentioned Zipline, but do you have like a commercialization strategy that kicks in at a certain point, or are you kind of constantly trying to penetrate and you're just not at that phase right now, or like what's the plan there?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're not an investor-backed business, right? So we're on our own timeline, and our timeline is break even every year. That's what we want to do. We want to not spend more money than we make, or cook with our own oil is a nice way to put it. We were highly skeptical of the commercial market. And while the FAA back in the day was saying they're going to make autonomous flight in the U.S. airspace real, they're not even saying that anymore. And so, frankly, like since as a company we can't do anything unless we get paid, we cannot afford to take a chance on commercial autonomy. but we don't doubt that when it happens, we'll be a part of it.
Oh, that's interesting. But like, I mean, I feel like planes have had autopilots like for a very long time. Like, what do you define commercial autonomy as?
Great question. So we talk to an autopilot on an aircraft. So in our parlance, like an autopilot controls the low level aspects of flight. So it controls the wing flaps and the
in order to achieve like altitude and speed effectively, right?
Yeah. So it can do things like if you're in turbulence, it could self-correct the aircraft. Or
it's an amazing thing when you're flying a small plane.
Are you a pilot?
I'm like 10 flight hours into being a pilot.
That's awesome.
I'm not very far in. What about you?
No, not a pilot.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but fly a lot of small aircraft and like on small aircraft and love it. But I mean, so we're a little bit higher level in that the things we would do are tell an autopilot where it is, which is what GPS typically does, but we plug in alongside of GPS, or in some cases like identify a hazard in front of an aircraft, which a pilot can do with their eyes, but a plane really can't do.
That makes a lot of sense. And an autopilot certainly can't do that conventionally.
No, an autopilot is it's like a blind person walking around. Like if you said walk 10 steps forward, it can do it, but it can't. It would bump into a couch if it was in the way.
Yeah, it makes sense. That's a great analogy.
Hopefully not too crude.
I don't think so. I mean, so I had an interesting experience at the Robotics Summit and Expo recently. There's this company called Glidance, and it's like a seeing eye dog meets like a cane for the blind. And
whoa,
the guy that runs it, Amos Miller. Hey Amos, how's it going? Super good dude, blind guy. Used to work at Microsoft.
I think I might know Amos.
Him?
Yeah. Is he a red-haired fellow?
I think he's got gray hair, but I could be
okay.
wrong.
Then I don't know him.
Yeah,
actually,
if Amos, if your hair is not gray, I apologize. But like, I'm very bad at remembering people's faces. But in any event, like, interesting product. So they had a new model that used like a time of flight sensor to steer, like differential drive, and then it had servos where it would like back you up if you were up against something. So I thought, like, he let me test drive it, and I figured I'd just close my eyes and like try to have some empathy.
Yeah.
And I went around, and I'm like, this is. Like, you place a lot of trust in the world, like, like, I mean, like, the fact, that you're like, like, just hopefully this thing gets me where I'm trying to go. Like,
yeah.
Crap, what's in front of me? I have no idea,
Yeah. So that's interesting. And actually, one of your questions early on was like,
must be a couch.
Why do you need GPS? Like, yeah. So actually, that is how vision is better, like literally better than GPS, which is GPS doesn't tell you what's in front of you. It doesn't often actually tell you which way you're facing either. Like,
for sure. I mean, you get that from like your past GPS position.
Exactly.
To your current one.
Exactly. Or a magnetometer on your phone, which kind of integrates with your GPS and makes it look like it can tell which way you're heading. But vision is on board. So vision knows when the world changes around you. And obviously, it's a hugely advantageous sense. So if you think about, like, this is when KEF gets to be a really interesting company. When you think about what are the things that are like, what are the most valuable biological things that humans do? Well, we think, and we have hands, and we have eyes.
Yeah.
So and that's what every animal, in evolutionary sense, every animal is like driven to get eyes, because if you can see your world, you have so much more power over it. So KEF's focus on computer vision is like, we know it's not a risky bet. We know computer vision is going to be one of the most important technologies in the world in the next 25 to perpetuity years. So that's what we're doing, and as long as we always get better there, like, there's just constantly going to be more work for us to do there.
That's awesome. Well, I guess it makes a lot of sense. I mean, to your point, if you see a bird or a power line or another plane, a helicopter, for instance.
Yeah. And how about an insect, man? We know an insect can fly. Like, an insect with so few neurons in its brain and an eye that's made out of cells and is, so tiny. And
my eyes are made out of cells. I resent that.
No, I'm saying that in a good way. Yeah. But I mean, it's just incredible what biology's done with the human eye, or the insect eye and the insect brain. And even an insect, like, it's a worm versus a dragonfly. Like, who's ruling the skies?
Dragonfly for sure.
Dragonfly in that case. Yeah. So we have a long way to go because for us it takes like a expensive processor and a pretty good camera still. Like that sucks, you know.
Yeah, that makes. I was just getting more risky.
Let's do it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean that makes sense, right? So I do feel like algorithms are getting better and enabling compute on more crude processors as we go, but also processors and GPUs are getting way better.
Yeah.
Do you see that as something to strive for, as like efficiency in your perception engineering?
Oh my God, yeah. I mean that is the line that we constantly want to walk at KEF is, and this is our the luck of being an algorithm developer is you aren't tied to a specific hardware set. Like so you don't have to worry about somebody coming out tomorrow with a better processor and then you're like fixed with that. So we know there's going to be better processors. They're going to be lower power. They're going to be better with machine learning networks. And we know we're going to be deploying machine learning networks increasingly on our processors. And so we just have to live on that, like kind of the cutting edge of where processors are and how much they cost. And there's a lot of trades to be made there. And we have to be fairly sharp and adaptable constantly for those.
Yeah, that makes sense. Somebody, I wonder if it was you, somebody once said to me, like, you give a perception engineer compute and they'll find a way to ask for more.
That wasn't me, but it could have been.
Yeah, it could have been. Like, I feel like that's the sort of thing you would say.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Like, and we are begging for more compute, right? In the same footprint at a lower price point.
I mean, it's coming out. Like Moore's law appears to still be in effect,
Yeah.
And so like, even though you thought it would plateau by now.
Yeah. No, I think that's funny. And I'm sure as somebody designing those processors, you're like, oh my God, I just worked my ass off for, 2 years.
They want another one?
They need more power now? They can't shrink their algorithms a little bit?
Yeah, what's with these these greedy people?
Yeah, I don't even want to sell to them anymore.
Yeah, it's funny. No, it's interesting, right? Because it definitely takes both sides of the coin, and it's just crazy exponential growth as a result of like algorithms improvement, but hardware improvement at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. So that is interesting. I mean, in a sense, we live in a compute unconstrained world, or we want to. And but already, like, it's pretty interesting. We've over the 5, 6, 7 years we've been deploying our software for people. Like it used to be standard that NVIDIA was just use like a Xavier or whatnot, and now it's can you do it on a Raspberry Pi?
Oh, that's interesting because they get the cost down by like a factor of 10.
Yeah, can you do it on Pi 5, Pi 4, Pi 0?
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you messed around with the Halo chips at all?
My team has. I haven't messed around with any of it.
Yeah, fair enough.
As you know.
I don't do any engineering at all anymore, Fraser. Like I can empathize.
Yeah, but I mean, it's important to do what you do. You got to sell your.
It's all critical to the business's survival and the growth of human civilization. I mean, like, you can't do it without the lawyers, the accountants, the engineers. I mean, of course, the salespeople. I mean, like, it's all critical and necessary, I think, for the whole organism to function.
Definitely. That's a good way to put it too.
You really can't do this without a plethora of different people. I mean, like, I think it's important to do the thing you're good at and figure out how to slot into a bigger team. Yes.
Yeah, and I think actually this is another topic that you could make a whole podcast out of, but robotics has been a terrible ambassador for itself in terms of I always tell people, like, there's no industry that people hate more than robotics and also think is like harder to get into. So people literally think they're going to be killed by a robot in the next week or so. Like, that, they wouldn't be surprised to hear that. And yet anybody who works in robotics knows that we are less competent than like a 4-year-old kid, You
mean we as being robots?
Oh, we as robots. Like, the amount of if you were to just say, give a robot a random task, like, hey, go bike down the street. Oh my God, it would take 2 years and the best roboticists in the world to make that happen. But you ask your kid.
Yeah, for sure.
You ask
And
your
how
kid,
do you expect them to kill all humans if they can't even bike down the street?
well, so that's the funny thing about robotics is like, how did you get to this point where everybody hates you and thinks you're going to kill them, but you can't even do a simple task? Like, it's a marketing problem. And actually, to your point, that's why you need.
I mean, I blame Terminator.
That's true.
Also, it's a great movie. It's very good.
Yeah.
But I think that's like a lot of people's like impression of robotics is science fiction, and like you see these killer robots, and you're like, that's what robots do.
Yeah. I mean, people use the word drone all the time. They're like, "Oh, do you fly drones?" I'm like, "Well, we call them aircraft, but what drone means to you is very different than, what we would say."
Yeah, it makes sense. So the way you define drone is like a Reaper,
No, actually, sorry, maybe I wasn't clear.
like
But
a
I mean-
Cessna 182. Like,
Well, I mean, a drone is just to us is an aircraft without a human on it.
okay, yeah, fair. So all the above, and also none of the above. Just depends on which drone you're flying.
Yeah, and I mean, a drone is going to deliver your groceries, or it's
Zipline P2.
exactly zipline. But the way people think a drone is much, much, much more loaded with negative thoughts.
Right, like drone strikes in like the Iraq War.
Yeah, so drone strikes, like that's a
Or like
great
DJI
catch.
drones spying on us.
Yeah, I mean, so drones are definitely used for bad things.
You corporate drone.
Yeah, it's pejorative.
It's gonna drone on and on and on. Not stop.
Keep
talking.
making drone jokes.
Yeah, sorry. So, what are some of the kind of the business cases you see for the technology you're developing going forward? So you mentioned, like zipline being a potential.
Yeah.
Commercial aviation, I guess there's also, the idea of like flying cars and like transport. I mean, like, what are markets like? I mean, I don't know. Like, I hate it when people ask me to be a futurist, but maybe like 2-year horizon. Like what's stuff that like seems within reach.
Well, 2 years in robotics is nothing. I mean, so 2 years we're still purely focused on defense.
Roger.
And maybe 15 to 20 years, we are making an impact on commercial markets. So, and let's just look at, autonomous cars and how long ago you and I and everybody else thought that autonomous cars were going to be on the market.
I bought it.
I bought it, and I was
Hook, line, and sinker.
same. I was like, oh, we're going to, Elon's right. We're going to be on Mars in 2026 and whatnot.
We're not going to be on Mars in 2026.
No, that's next year. And I mean, we're not even close, and like people don't want to die. They'd rather stay on Earth and watch their
I
Netflix.
never understood like the desire to want to go to Mars. Like, I get it from like a species perspective over the long run, but like right now, like, I mean, I can think of very few places I would rather not be. Than,
Oh my God.
You can't breathe the air.
There is
Like, I
no
mean,
air.
Can you imagine how bad it would have been to like be in like the frontier West, like in like the 1800s, and like amplify that? They had air.
They had air. I mean,
Like-
you're scuba diving on a planet, and your only source of oxygen, reliable oxygen, is at least, what is it, 110 million miles away. That's only accessible when the planets are in alignment. Like,
There's no oxygen there. Like you can't even get it from like stuff that's elemental.
oh, there's oxygen in rocks, but there's no oxygen to speak of in the atmosphere. There's no partial.
Yeah.
There's no pressure. It's like
Yeah, that makes sense.
it's like a very like a CO2 atmosphere.
Have we found water there yet? I mean, we can get
Yeah.
oxygen from that.
Yeah, I mean, there's ice.
Yeah, okay. So
On-
that's
on
that,
Mars.
that gives us hope. We're like we can sort of get oxygen out of the ice.
Well, I mean, so it's funny because it's like, could you make water out of the sand of the Sahara? Like, yes, you could, and it's also probably 10 times as much water in the Sahara as there is on Mars. Like, it's way drier on Mars than anything we have.
That is wild.
Wild,
And I've been to the Sahara, and it is dry.
dry, and like, can you imagine making a business out of like extracting water from the rocks? Like, no, not really.
But I mean, I'm thinking of watching The Expanse now. I feel like if you're in Mars, you're gonna want that like liter of water. Like you'd pay any price.
You would.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think all robotics and autonomy is just like nothing's going to change in 2 years. I mean, the capabilities will get cheaper and marginally better, but they're not going to dramatically change. And I don't think, can you imagine like a president in the next election making a big case out of, oh, we need to have autonomous drones in the airspace? Like,
No, nobody's going to campaign on that.
That's a non-issue for most people.
Drones are going to kill us.
They might.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Maybe-
killer robots. You
Maybe
can't
within a
campaign.
week.
But yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I mean, it's really to see any kind of progress or real difference in the tech. You know, you're looking at like a 10, 15 year horizon to, you know, like a real pivot where you're taking defense tech and bringing it into commercial or
Yeah.
in a way that's foreseeable. I mean, like you might get lucky and get there sooner, but like you can't plan on it.
Yeah, I mean, so we write plenty of proposals which project our capabilities out 2 years, right? And we say, hey, we need this much money to get you this capability in 24 months. And the capabilities we're talking about are definitely, it's always a risk that we'll get there because it's research. And then even then, it wouldn't be reliable enough for commercial markets. It would be cutting edge enough that like the DoD would buy it because they needed to have that element of surprise and the like, if it works, it's really helpful and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's like the stealth fighter, like where it was made out of polygons because like that's as good as we could do in terms of getting rid of radar cross section with the math that we found.
Exactly. With
at
the
time,
with the
with
compute
no CAD.
power. With the compute power.
no
we had.
CAD.
Yeah.
Dude, can you even like fathom like it always blows my mind that like the Saturn V rocket and the space shuttle were made before CAD existed. Like maybe the space shuttle had some CAD involved, I don't know, but like the fact that we got to the moon with no CAD. Like,
I mean, it is truly incredible to think of who would be ballsy enough to like, you know, stop working on a Friday to like, you know, make sure you get to the moon. Like that is real deal bravery.
yeah, for sure. I mean, so that can't happen without government funding. Like stuff like that, like that's where you need like the Uncle Sam to step in and be like, "I'll pay for it.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll get the tab on this ridiculous gambling bill. Like, no worries. Like, you know,
yeah, I mean,
it might go nowhere. I mean, there's got to have been dead end research. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, I mean, exactly right. Like, what investor, aside from a charity, would do that? You know, and there's not many charities out there, and they don't have a lot of money compared to the government. So
yeah, that makes sense. Well, and even like what charity exists for like the betterment? I mean, I guess there's like a bunch of like medical science, like like someone I know got some horrible disease. So I'm gonna start a charity to end that disease. You know, like, but I mean, for the sake of like actually like, okay, let's make that missile super accurate, or like, let's figure out a way to point this thing right in that direction for 5 miles. Like, that's the sort of thing you do if you're trying to aim a machine gun better. So, like probably also has other implications that are also really good.
Yeah. I mean, unless you like think people are fundamentally bad, it's hard to argue that the government has misused tax dollars on the. Well, I mean,
there's got to have been misses though, and I say that in the way that like I'm not saying like F the government. I'm saying like everybody misses. Like VCs will bet on Juicero. Like I mean, there's plenty of stuff that's just like you don't have a crystal ball, and like you want to be able to make big bets and go with these moonshots, and so like you're gonna have misses. I mean, like you're probably only gonna have like a 5% or lower hit rate, I would think, if you're aiming on the 15-20 year horizon.
Yeah. Oh my God, 5% on the 15-20 year horizon would be fantastic, right? That would mean fusion power happens. That would mean general AI definitely happens. That would mean
a humanoid in every home.
That's right.
Yeah.
No more asking my wife for back rubs.
I don't know. I feel like there'd be something impersonal. Like isn't it better to get a back rub from your wife than like a robot?
Oh, definitely. But if she's already gone to sleep and doesn't want to
digit. I mean, I get it, right? But like I don't know. Like I like BSing with the bartender. Like when I'm out at the bar. Like I mean, that's fun for me. Like
oh man, Definitely.
trying to make friends. Like, I don't know. Like, I like working with humans. Like, I feel like I would be. I probably shouldn't say this as a roboticist, but I feel like, like there's certain things where, like, if you delegate that to a robot, like, you're taking the soul out of it a little bit.
Definitely.
I mean, even self-driving, like, I felt that way. Like, when we all bought the Okie Doke in, like, 2015 and we thought self-driving cars were going to be here by, like, 2016. Like, I was like, I like driving.
So, Spencer, here's my my anti-CMU, anti-robotics take is, like, I don't think there's a market for self-driving cars.
Okay, so how do you figure?
I don't think anybody wants it. I think it's solving a problem that doesn't exist. Okay, so everybody said, oh, man, autonomous cars are going to be amazing. And when you describe it on paper, it sounds amazing. Oh, wouldn't you love to get 30 minutes of your day back? But what would you pay for it? And then, like, the percentage of people who say, like, oh, I'd actually pay for that, like, drops a little bit. And then you get closer to market, and you're like, well, now it's going to cost about $20 an hour to drive you to your work. It's not free because we have to make a margin because we got all this investor money. And, like, suddenly nobody wants it anymore. And that's what I feel like happened with driverless cars is, like, I'm a technology guy in a sense because I have a drone company, but zero part of me is like, the next car I buy needs to be autonomous. In fact, I'm like, I don't want an autonomous car. That's my time. I want to drive, or I want to bike more, or whatnot. So
I mean, that's kind of like the closest I get to meditation is when I'm driving.
Yeah, are you, Spencer? Are you, like, not doing business in your car? No, like, you're taking phone calls.
Of course, the whole ride I'm taking phone calls.
Phone calls.
Every single red light I'm texting or emailing. I mean, like, I'm clearing out my Slack. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So what's an autonomous car going to help you? I think it could help you, but
you would maybe do like 20% more business while you're driving.
How much would you pay for it? And when it comes down to it, most people
20% more business.
Yeah, most people are stretched really thin, and
Yeah.
not 20%. Like, let's say 5%.
If you got 5% more business, and, like, maybe I'm in the car like an hour out of the day, like most days. Huh. I mean, well, yeah, it's a good point. Maybe $50.
Yeah, $50. And what autonomous company has told their investors that the average person will pay $50 for their service?
Yeah.
None of them.
I don't think the average person can afford $50 for that.
Oh, definitely not. Because you're an executive. You have a business. Like, you're the ideal niche for, and even you are like, wow, it costs more than $50. So no, can the average person who rides a bus or walks to work afford an autonomous car?
Well, I mean, if
Definitely
you're riding
not.
a bus, you already have an autonomous car, right?
yeah. I mean, that's true.
the competition.
That's
I mean,
true.
It's buses and trolleys and trains.
That's
like,
a great point, Spencer. That's a great point. Yeah, so it's not
for $2 to get on. You've got an autonomous car.
So this is a great argument against fusion power too, which is like, okay, is fusion power worth investing in? Well, you have to bet that solar power won't be so cheap in the next 10 years that, like, anything else makes sense. So you're not competing against a vacuum.
Oh, that's interesting.
You're competing against technologies that are getting consistently better.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, solar's gotten amazing. Like, remember in the 90s, like, solar panels were shit compared to what they do now. Like, the fact that you can have, like, 20 kilowatts of solar on your roof now. Like, people have told me the amount of solar they have on their roof, and I'm like, holy fucking shit. Like, that is so much power. That's like a data center, like a small data center, but like you could power a data center off that.
Oh yeah, and the cost is very low, and it's going to drop lower too. So it's not fusion power. Like, fusion power doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Well, I mean, we're also hungry for fission right now. Like, I mean, like I was on a call with somebody from a nuclear company today, and they were telling me just about the demand for fission reactors. Like, it's, I mean, with AI, it is through the roof right now.
Yeah, I'm skeptical of that.
You don't think it's going to last?
No.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I'm kind of bullish on it right now, but, like, I mean,
You're bullish on what, AI or fission?
I mean, fission is a means to support the hunger for AI that we've currently got.
But why? Because it's so much cheaper to get a gas turbine going, and gas costs nothing in the U.S., and it takes nothing to permit, and you can install it in 3 months. So like, how are you going to beat a gas turbine as efficient?
I mean, how many gigawatts do you get out of a gas turbine typically?
As many as you want. I mean, you can
put a bunch of them in.
Yeah, and it doesn't take it doesn't take many, and they spin up like that. I mean, it's like it's literally a jet engine, right?
That's pretty cool.
So, no, I'm not big on AI.
You think it's just nuclear is like a whole lot of extra steps? Like you've got all this regulatory and
definitely.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And not even just regulatory. Like people knock that sometimes, but regulatory, first of all, does matter because nuclear power, despite its advocates, does not have the best track record.
So you're talking about like 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl, like Fukushima, the stuff everybody knocks against nuclear.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, Chernobyl. Did you say that?
I did. Yes. Okay. I mean, if someone's gonna set a bomb off, it may as well be you.
Yes. No, I mean
Hiroshima, Nagasaki.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, fission has a checker past, and thank goodness for it in some circumstances, but it's like compared to a gas turbine, like that, like the worst case, what you emit some CO2 that you can probably take care of later.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know. Like the scale on nuclear is pretty awesome. Like the fact that you can spin up, like just a shitload of capacity all at once. Like I don't know. I mean, it'll run forever, and the fuel amortizes nicely over the lifetime of the asset. Like I don't know. I mean, it's cleaner to your point, like about CO2.
I mean, we could capture the CO2 coming out of a turbine, but it would take a fair bit of the energy to capture it and put it underground and whatnot. But I mean, fission is like, it takes a lot of energy to make that fuel, and then we get most of it from Russia right now.
When you say fission, okay, you're talking about uranium and plutonium.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, this is an enjoyable debate, right? I like that we're.
Oh, I love energy. I love
Yeah.
energy debates.
Yeah.
I love energy debates.
Yeah.
That is what I went to grad school for. So that is something I'm somewhat competent to speak on.
Okay, so what is like the cost per like megawatt hour to build like a nuke plant versus a gas plant? Like, do you know?
Oh my God.
Versus solar.
That's an interesting metric. So I bet a nuclear plant, bare minimum right now, $1 billion. And I would say bare minimum $4 billion.
$4 billion.
$4 billion.
That's quite a bit more than $1 billion.
It is, but like the last nuclear reactor that we built in the U.S. was in Georgia, and I think it ended up being $30 billion. And the Georgian ratepayers are going to pay that premium on their electricity for the next 30 years.
Fuck me.
Right? Okay, so a gas plant, the average gas plant, I bet you can install it for $100,000 to $250,000.
But how much power do they generate relative to each other?
Oh yeah, so I mean a $4 billion nuclear plant is going to be a megawatt or a gigawatt, and
is it a gigawatt or is it like 3 gigawatts? Because you've got like 3 of those gigawatt generators running.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's $billion per gigawatt. So just
4 gigawatts.
Say 4. Yeah. So gas plant would be we'll say it's 250 megawatts, and it costs, so it's, what is that?
So that's much cheaper.
It's much cheaper, and it's
you're looking at like 3 orders of magnitude cheaper.
Yeah, probably. Now you have ongoing fuel costs with a gas generator.
Right, where like nuke ROIs.
Most of your money's in the building of the plant rather than the fuel, but most of the cost of a gas generator is in the fuel rather than the building. So that's a trade-off, but most
That's
people,
interesting.
Most
so
people,
you've got
yeah.
After you.
Oh, I was going to say, most people don't think gas is going to get more expensive. It's going to stay the same price. So
so you've got like effectively this low cost of entry, and then your cost to operate goes up, and then you've got like sort of.
Yes.
So there's a crossover point. There's a point at which like nuke makes more sense, and how many years is that?
Exactly.
So I guess like overcoming like a hesitation to get into defense is something that has occurred to me in my career as well, right? So like,
yeah.
I know college Spencer would have been like, I'll be goddamned if I'm going to work on a weapon system.
Yeah.
current Spencer's like, I got to pay the bills, and also like, you know, like I think our country is pretty awesome, and I'll work
Yeah.
on whatever.
Yeah.
You know? And so, at what point in your life did you say, you know, like I think this is a good use of my skills?
I went to my first special operations conference down in Tampa when we were like a 6-year-old business, and I had always thought, oh, these are dumb, whatever. These are dumb military dudes, and they waste money and all this kind of stuff. And I got down there, and I saw a lot of high fives, a lot of hugs, a lot of dudes who had been in the heart of it for our own defense. And my perception changed pretty dang quickly. And it has only become an increasing point of pride for me to work with the defense industry, which I think is like, again, some of the smartest people who gave up careers in all the best companies you can imagine, whether it's Google or, you know, all the investment companies on Wall Street or whatnot. And they took a much lower salary and a lot of travel to defend the country. And man, did they give up a lot.
So, like, you know, as we grow as a society, like, you know, what do you think are some of the most important things for us to focus on technologically?
That's a great question, Spencer. I think, I mean, from my selfish perspective, I think computer vision.
Why is that?
Well, I mean, harnessing the power of the camera is just obviously a critical technology.
So cameras are inexpensive. They enable the ability to see obstacles, navigate where you're at.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, with the evolution of SLAM algorithms, that's almost become commoditized, you know, in recent days. And
Yeah.
so.
Well, I mean, just imagine imagine your life as a human without eyes. Like, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You know, we would
I mean, I did when I drove the Glidance prototype.
Yeah.
That's an awesome, I mean, and it gave me some empathy. And it was a really cool machine. It backed me up. And I was like, okay, I actually don't feel totally screwed with my eyes closed.
Yeah. And that's amazing. But I mean, still, like, vision is the best.
Well,
vision is the best.
Well, here's the thing, though, right? Is the Glidance device had a time of flight stereo cam on it. Like, it had a real sense.
Wow.
So it had vision.
It had vision.
Given eyesight to the blind. So, you know, what is, like, for somebody that wants to get into technology and help the world, like, what is something you would tell that person? Like, you know, if you could talk to you, like, 15 years ago.
Oh, wow. I would say start now. I mean, I would say start a business. Yeah. And don't waste a second with ideas that don't matter. Be ruthless on yourself. Make sure you inspire people, and start a business. I think that is the most important thing. Don't think you need the credentials to do it.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. Fraser, thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Spencer.
So much fun.
So fun. Thanks so much, man.
Awesome. Can't wait for the next one.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us today. If you've made it this far, chances are you'll like other episodes too. Collaborative with Spencer Krause can be found on YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Radio Public. Subscribe today to get notified when the latest episodes release and support the channel. Collaborative with Spencer Krause is sponsored by SKA Robotics. If you're in the market for elite field robotics expertise, please consider hiring SKA Robotics. They sponsor this podcast and solve some of the toughest engineering problems in the world. SKA Robotics can be found at skarobotics.com.